Hello student, I am Assistant Professor Yeshwant Bora from Hazard School of Law, and today we'll be discussing about the applicability of Indian Penal Code jurisdiction. So before moving to this lecture, I'll suggest students to please keep with them one bare act of IPC that will help them to understand the sections in a better way. So first, what is the operation of this code? Now, as we all know that this IPC has been drafted by Lord Macaulay in the year 1834, and it came into existence in the it was like completed in the year 1860, and it got implemented and came into operation in on first day of January in 1862. Now section 1 of IPC talks about its applicability. It says that the act shall be called as Indian Penal Code and it shall extend to whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir. But after the removal of Article 370, Indian Penal Code is also applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. It again says that the code is applied to all the person is irrespective of their sex, race, sect or religion. It doesn't say that if the it doesn't differentiate if the person is male or female, or the person belongs to some other community. So for let us say Hindu, Muslims, it says that it will be applicable to all of the person. Now the second, moving to the punishment of the offenses committed within India. Now section 2 of IPC talks about the interterritorial operation of the code. It says that every person shall be liable to punishment under this code and not otherwise for every act or omission contrary to the provision thereof, of which he shall be guilty within India. It says that every person includes citizen or not citizen who has committed the crime within the territory of India will be charged by or will be held by the law of India. Therefore, for example, if the person who is from France has committed any crime in the territory of India, then he'll be prosecuted by the laws of India. Okay. Now, moving to our next slide, it talks about the exception to Section 2. What are the exceptions to the Section 2? Now, the first exception is President and Governor. Now, President and Governor are exempted under Article 361 of the Constitution of India from any of the jurisdiction of the court. It says that till the president or governor is holding or serving the nation, they cannot be charged by any of the court. Now, second exception is alien enemies. It talks about that whenever any person during the act of war has been caught by any country, then he cannot be charged by the particular criminal court. He'll be charged by the martial laws. Every country have their own martial laws, as we all know. Therefore they will be charged by those martial law. Now the third exception is foreign army. Foreign army talks about when the armies and regiments of the state are by consent on the soil of foreign state, they are exempted from the jurisdiction of the state on whose soil they are. Suppose, for example, suppose US military has been deployed here for some operation in India. Then in that case, till they are here, they won't be like they if anything happens or they commit anything, then they won't be charged by the law of India. They will be charged by the court of United Nations or by their own law. Now let's move to extraterritorial jurisdiction. Now section 3 and section 4 of Indian Penal Code talks about the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the Indian Penal Code. Section 3 says that any person liable by any Indian law to be tried for an offence committed beyond India shall be dealt with according to the provision of the code for any act committed beyond India in the same manner as if such act had been committed within the territory of India. Now it says that if the person who belongs to India or who is a citizen of India has committed any act or any crime which is trial which is a crime in India, and he has committed that particular crime beyond the territorial limit of India, then again that person will be tried by the laws of India or by the Indian laws. Now moving to our next slide, it says that section 4 says that the provision of this code apply also to the offences committed by any citizen of India in any place without and beyond India. Second, any person or any ship or aircraft registered in India wherever it may be, and any person in any place without and beyond India committing an offences targeting the computer sources located in. So this particular section gives us three different kinds of situations in which what will happen if the crime is committed in these four kinds of things. Now moving to the next slide, it talks about the offenses committed by the foreigner. What will be the situation in case if the foreigner has committed the crime in the territory of India or outside the territory of India. Now you have you must have known this famous maxim, ignorantia facit excusat, ignorantia juris non excusat. It means that ignorance of facts is excusable, but ignorance of law is not an excuse. So that means that the person who belongs to a different country and he is coming here, and after coming here he has committed an act which is a crime or offense in our country or in India, then he cannot take a plea that he was not aware of the fact that this particular act is an offense in your country. Now next we'll move about the extradition. We'll know about the extradition. So what is extradition? Extradition means when the offense is committed beyond the territory of India, but the offender found within its limit or outside its limits, then there are two contingencies which arise. First of all, it says that the offender may be given up for the trial for the country where the offense was committed. Second, the offender may be tried by the laws of India. So there is first there is these two contingency which creates that whether the person can be give up to the other country or he can be tried by and by the laws of. So, extradition means that surrendering of a person by one state to another state for the crime which he has committed and which is punishable under the law of that particular state. I thought you must have got about the extradition. Now, moving to another slide, what if the offense is committed on the high seas? Now, the jurisdiction to try an offences on a high sea is popularly known as Admiralty jurisdiction. It says that generally the ships who are known generally the ships on whom the crime has been committed will be the person will be prosecuted by the country of that particular by the country of that ship of which he is holding the flag. I'll make it clear that generally these particular ships, or you can say boats, ships, or flights, they are the floating territory of the countries. So if the person any person who has committed the offense on high sea on the ship or on the aircraft registered on India, then the person will be dealt by the law of India. And it is vice versa. If the person committed the crime of on the ship which is registered on the name of the different country or the other country, then it will be dealt by the laws of other country. So I hope you must have got the idea, or you must have got the concept about the applicability and the interterritorial and extraterritorial of jurisdiction of the Indian Penal Code. And that's all for today. See you in next lecture. Till then, study hard, study well, and if there is query, you can always ask me. So thank you.